We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Well, today is the freedom that was promised to Oceania. There is no freedom of speech, no freedom of thought, no freedom of assembly, no freedom of the press.
Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery!
What remains of the ideal of peace? Universal peace, peace with our neighbors, peace to till the soil, peace.
War is peace! War is peace! War is peace!
Whole of Oceania is plunged in ignorance. Universal and abysmal ignorance. Ignorance even of the most elementary principles of democracy.
Ignorance is hate! Ignorance is hate! Ignorance is death! Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery! War is peace! War is peace! War is peace! Ignorance is death! Ignorance is hate! Ignorance is death!
Listen to me. Please listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
I want you to get mad. You've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Flipping the pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk. We aim to discover the truth about our world and the issues it faces.
Oh, hello folks, I didn't quite click the button quick enough there. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Yes, hello, welcome to virtual shamanizing with me, the HairyCookieMunster, at FlippingThePyramid.co.uk. It is the 26th of the 7th, 2012. Yes, you don't have very long to wait now till the opening ceremony shall begin. It's a subject I'm not really going to bother going into. I think there's already more than enough people out there talking about that one particular topic, and we shall shortly, within a few hours time, we shall see what we shall see. I'm most curious, just as like personal observation, I'm most curious about the giant bell. The sonic capabilities of said bell intrigue me, but obviously they've been keeping it quite heavily under wraps. There's I think one little photo floating about of it, not exactly that you can tell a lot from a picture of a bell. I was more concerned with what particular tone has it been tuned to, what has it been cast to, and what sonic resonance is it going to be outputting. Yes, bit of a a bit more of an esoteric aside, but yeah, that's the main thing I've been looking at in interest in that respect. Could say loads more about it, but like I said, there's plenty of people doing lots of good coverage and background info on the Olympics, so I'm sure you've got plenty to chew on already. I don't have any particular truths to tell you about the Olympics that you probably haven't already heard from elsewhere, or speculations even. Yeah, I do have quite a bit of music I wanted to play at you. I was going to do this last week, but as it turned out, the The Shoutghost servers seemed to be having some issues last week, so we couldn't get the show running. They didn't come back online until about an hour later, so it was a bit too late after the fact by then to just start late. So apologies for that, folks, but we're here again now. And strangely, you might have to wear your coincidence hats a lot this evening, to a certain degree. Just wear them at a jaunty angle to sort of make them work for that certain degree, then, if you see what I mean. Not 33rd degree angle. But anyway, yes, I did have quite a few tracks already lined up last week, which seemed appropriate to me at the time, and the majority of them still seem appropriate now. Track I played at the beginning wasn't so much an oldie like I have played recently. That was from 1993, New Model Army, Here Comes the War. The lyrics in that are just so appropriate at the moment. What also seemed appropriate to me about that, and the reason why I left it there from last week, because of course we had the whole events over the weekend in Colorado in the United States, and it is tell me stories of serial killers, as the lyrics say in that song. Yes, again, another subject I'm not planning to go into or procrastinate over. There's plenty of other people jumping all over the topic at the moment. It's in mainstream media all over the place. Information is still coming out, etc. I think let's keep our coincidence hats on. And yes, it could have been a lone psycho nut. Yes, of course it could have been. Cannot deny that possibility, that this guy, calling himself the Joker, was just a psycho nut having some kind of manic episode break, etc. Yes, that's quite possible. But then you just look at all the convenient, coincidental things that go along with it. Just how you get in through an exit door, that should be an immediate major question of investigation. How do you come in via an exit door? I think, as the majority of people are probably very aware, those kind of exit doors open one way, outwards. I think you'd find it rather difficult, even if you were super fit and really strong and whatever, you'd find it really difficult to get one of those doors to go inwards. But that is, as I say, one point of investigation. Then, of course, you've got the witness reports of multiple people being involved. I shouldn't say tear gas, because it hasn't been proven one way or the other yet, whether it was just smoke grenades or some kind of chemical concoction or whatever, but some kind of gas grenades being thrown from different directions, etc. There's various little anomalies to do with the event itself. And then, of course, you've got the guy's background, which just, so coincidentally happens to fit the MO for so many of these incidents, which happen after the fact to be shown to be some kind of manipulation or false flag, or you know the story. So, yes, I wasn't planning on going into that particular story in any depth, because, as I say, information is still coming out, and there's plenty of people dissecting and digesting it quite adequately, I think. Curious to see just how much they put him on display while he's still in what seems to be an obviously drugged state. That I find curious. It's very much, I think, a rapid railroading, but then again, coincidentally, that fits the MO quite nicely, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's get this guy convicted and stuck in jail as fast as possible, because it's obvious he did it. Yes. Anyway, loads and loads of other news stories I could talk about at the moment, but I wanted to mention that one. Also, I'll put a link in the chat room. This is from the Daily Mail. I'm only really linking this just to make observation and notes about the fact that this story has actually now hit the mainstream to a fairly large degree. The situation in Anaheim in California, again in the USA. I'm not particularly focusing on the USA for any particular reason. It's just this is the story, this is the news that's going on at the moment. Now, yeah, as I say, noting that mainly just for the fact that it's spreading across the mainstream media. You know, they can't exactly deny this once that original video started virally spreading across the alternate sites. You know, the story was definitely way beyond their keeping it under wraps or localised. I'm more just making a mental note that now at least that kind of information is getting in front of the mainstream media public. The Daily Mail sees, you know, quite a large readership, certainly in the UK, of just the general populace. You know, it's just a general newspaper. It's verges into tabloid a lot of the time, but it reaches quite a large audience. And some of the situation in Anaheim and Colorado thread together around a topic which I will come back to towards, well, later on. This may seem, I was going to say, loosely associated. It's as per usual for me, you know, I find these loose associations, but this is not so much sort of conspiratorial dots joining in that sense. Now I'm more looking at what I consider to be, in my opinion, a fundamental principle that runs through all of what I'm going to mention to you or talk about, news stories, whatever. And I think it's, again, in my opinion, yeah, I'm caveating myself for those pedantic people out there who may wish to disagree. You're welcome to disagree. It's something that we should be talking about, thinking about, at least, certainly, considering, as in both those situations in Colorado and Anaheim, people have been almost straight away dragged off into the argument over gun control and the control of those kind of weapons, you know, what kind of weapons should you be allowed to have and stuff like this. On the whole, I find it a little bit nonsensical to a certain degree, because anything can be a weapon. A gun as an actual tool, a weapon tool, yeah, makes your job, as it were, a little bit easier because of its reach over distance, etc. You know, yeah, in the same way a bow and arrow or a crossbow gives you that distance ability. You know, it gives you a big advantage over your opponent most of the time. You know, but no, anyway, that is, as I say, another aside. And again, coincidence. There's been so many coincidences over this last week. Yeah, coincidentally, there are these UN propositions going through about gun control. All very interesting, yes. But please be aware of the distraction technique. Don't look at this hand, look at this hand. Don't watch me, look over there. Yes, anyway. Also, a similar situation occurring in Dallas at the moment. You know, this is now extending to the point of, as well, people being out on the streets protesting. And as you know, I've said lots of times before, I do not agree with or condone violent protest. I think it's pointless, it's fruitless. You just make the problem worse and play into their hands. But I can appreciate why people are frustrated to the point of wanting to smash and break things. Yes. One of the other main sort of threads that has been apparent to me, or showed itself, as it were, over the last week or so, with the whole situation going on in the Middle East, again, as I've said before, there is so much information available in both the mainstream and the alternative media. I don't exactly see it as being fruitful for me to just go over a load of different stories pointing at different things for you, because there's plenty of information out there for you to look at for yourself. As I've said lots before, try and look at many different sources of information. Don't take one as being sacrosanct. Try and cross-reference what you're looking at. Check it out. As seems to be at the moment. I think it was some of the one Russian diplomat was sort of alluding to this as well. At the moment in the Western mainstream media, certainly in relevance to the situation in Syria at the moment, they have quite happily been using lots of material, supposed evidence, where the catchphrase, the new catchphrase for this year, I think, the new journalistic catchphrase is, sources cannot be independently verified. It's like, look, there's Elvis with an AK-47, and underneath it say, sources cannot be independently verified. But our mainstream media quite happily runs along with this and propagates it and uses it to fulfill their confirmation bias to push their war propaganda. Again, why I played Here Comes the War at the beginning. It seems very much inevitable now. I know lots of people have said this already anyway for long enough. The same old script, the same old imperialist intervention, intervasion script is playing out in Syria at the moment. And yes, lots I could say about it, but again, unfortunately, it is the beast that it is. We shall see how it rolls out. But over the course of this weekend, there has been what you could only describe as a bloodbath of various incidents. The situation in Colorado, the situation as it is in Syria, the bomb blasts that occurred in Iraq over the weekend. There have been hundreds and hundreds killed in Iraq over the weekend and this week. It really is the machine throwing as many weapons as it can, not necessarily physical weapons, economic weapons as well, into that mix to create as much chaos as possible. That's why the next thing I've been expecting, I know they've said that they can't exactly do a no-fly zone because of Syria's air defence abilities plus the backing of Russia, etc. But I think the way the information is dribbling out from the UN and the CFR and other such groups, they're going to do something. They're going to demand some kind of humanitarian intervention soon enough, or they will instigate yet another major false flag, possibly involving chemical munitions, considering they have been propagating that propaganda. Do you remember Tony Blair before the Iraq War? 45 minutes, they could bomb us all within 45 minutes. Oh, we must do something. This script repeats again and again and again and again. And yet, still, people sit back and watch it and go, oh, they must be such terrible people over there. We have to bomb them into freedom. They're so deluded. And let's not forget, last week I was going to mention, I've kept this in my notes because I didn't wish to forget, even though another week has passed. There was the court case ruling over the death of Ian Tomlinson a couple of weeks ago here in the UK. That will link into some other things which I'll mention in a bit, but I found that quite disgusting, to be honest with you. It's the only way I can describe it. Cynically par for the course of what I would have expected from them, had hoped differently, but yeah. So I did mean to mention that last week, and as I say, even though another week has passed, I still felt it was worth jogging that memory for people to not forget. I will now play a few more songs which I well, you know me, tenuous connections, they make connections for me, so that's what matters, because I've got my finger on the buttons. You'll have to try and figure out those tenuous connections, maybe. Anyway, yes, I will shut up for several minutes and play you a few tunes. I'll be back in a bit.
We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Hello, welcome back, folks. Yes, we are flipping the pyramid. .co.uk. A couple of, three tracks. First one was Billy Bragg, The World Turned Upside Down. About the Diggers. If you don't know about the Diggers, go and have a mooch around, you can find info on the Diggers. Interesting history of England if you're interested in that kind of thing. Good background detail, I think. After that, The Clash, English Civil War. Again, talking about the New Model Army. Again, English history, I know. And finally, the third one was The Specials, War Crimes. As I say, the lyrics within these songs seem somewhat timeless. The situations repeat themselves. The same dilemmas come up again and again. Anyway, before I digress too far off in random directions, to sort of get into a bit more of the news and more around the main sort of situation I was going to ramble at. I'll give you this link in the chat room. Then I'm copy and paste, multitasking. It's on the Telegraph. The title of the article, let me find it again, so in case listeners want to look it up. HMRC, tell school children, tell your teacher if a neighbour is evading tax. Indoctrinate the youth, get them while they're young. Yes, could go off into another big side tangent argument, debate over tax, the benefits of tax, do you need it, who'll build the roads, all that kind of argument, yes. But that's not my intention here. This is more leading into a continuation of certain economic subjects that are happening at the moment, certainly in the UK. This is predominantly UK relevant, I'm afraid, folks. If you're international, if you're outside the UK, it might not be so relevant to you, but it might very well be approaching you and your own current nation's economic status. You know, riots are continuing in Spain and in Greece. Yep, said this for however many weeks now. They're still going on. There's still the same situation. The austerity crunch. And it just continues. These I can't think of a good appropriate word for them. I was watching Chunky Mark earlier. I thought when he was started shouting, they've got hooves, they've got hooves. I thought, yeah, that's quite appropriate. They probably do have hooves. Yes, I hear as well today the NatWest are having more problems. Their bank accounts seem to be freezing and emptying and not working properly. People can't access their accounts. Just what exactly is going on here? Is this a similar situation that occurred in Greece before the economic collapse started really hitting home? You know, they locked down accounts to stop people withdrawing funds because they so desperately needed the funds. You know, keep these too big to fail corporations going. You know, even though they do actually make money in many ways. You know, here's another little article which flows along with where I'm going. This one's from The Guardian. global banks are the financial services wing of the drug cartels. Yes, as HSBC executives apologise to the US Senate for laundering drugs money, the fact is that nothing changes. As per usual, folks, I don't bother reading the actual articles out. You know, if you want to look at them, go and look at them for yourself, digest them at your own pace, take them for what you will. I'm merely laying the breadcrumbs, as it were. Yeah, so these banks, these too big to fail institutions which we need for our economy supposedly to function, you know, quite happily to launder drug money. So does that mean then our accepted economic system condones drug use? Because we need the drug money to go through the economic system for our economics to function? Excuse me? I thought you said all drugs are bad. Okay. Oh yes, but the hypocrisy of these people goes on and on and on. Now I'm going to take a little couple of minutes break here to play something as a dedication to these people. As I've said recently, I'm trying, or I would like to include a bit of levity, a bit of comedy in each show, even though, yes, I know the news is dire, the news is terrible, there's a lot of horrible things going on in the world, but I feel, my opinion, we have to keep a sense of humour, otherwise we will go truly insane, because this stuff is so dark. So occasionally, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a laugh now and then. You need it to rebalance on the light side. If anything, I feel, my opinion, we have to have it to keep us from falling totally into that dark side, black morass. If you don't have a bit of a laugh now and then, you will go insane. Anyway, yeah, this is dedicated to, let's see, there's so many names I could put on this list. Boris Johnson's a good one. Cameron, Blair. Oh, just pick a politician, pick a power broker, Kissinger, Brzezinski. Yes, lots of these people. The lyrics might not necessarily address them directly personally, but I just find the anthemic chorus of this particular track is just great whenever I think about these people. Just to try and prevent myself from falling into the dark trap of hatred. Anyway, yes, I'm going to start rambling again, aren't I? So I'll shut up and play this one. Yes, especially for Boris Johnson, I think. Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure Boris is very proud of being Boris. Boris good, Boris make doo-doo. Yes, anyway. Enough about that buffoon. I won't bother wasting any energy on him. Yeah, says yeah, I know, Dennis Leary, I know, he's a fair bit of a sellout, but don't shoot the messenger. Well, I should say don't shoot the message because of the messenger. Yeah, I think the chorus is quite appropriate. Whenever I see their faces on TV, I just go, ASSHOLE. I'd love to see a crowd of protesters gather around Boris and just chant that at him. That'd be quite amusing. Yeah, I'd actually watch that on mainstream media. But anyway, yes, before I ramble off again, where were we next? Yes, this next story. This came out last week, I think. Again, this was one of the ones I was going to mention last week, but kept hold of it because it seems to add in nicely to all this other recent news we've had. Carrying on from me sort of wagging a finger at the big banking, well, let's call it the corporatism state that it is, because the banks are just one face of it, and the government state is another face of it, but the money's all still going up through them to the same points. I trace this back to where the original article came from, because I first saw this on some alternative news sites, and I was curious to check the sources for it just to make sure it wasn't, you know what the internet can be like, people will post any old rumour, but this is coming from Forbes, so fairly respected source in that respect. It's been a report that was put together by some fairly well-known, important economic groups, whatever. But just the sheer title alone should say, I should read that out. Yeah, it's on Forbes.com. Super rich hide $21 trillion offshore, study says. That equates to about £13 trillion. Roughly, when you're talking those bigger numbers. I don't think they're going to quibble too much over the exchange rate, but then again, these people probably would, these money junkies, as Mr. Rivero calls them. I do agree, crazy money junkies. But here in mainstream media land, put coincidental hats on. Hopefully you didn't bother taking them off. But coincidentally, that these wealthy people just happen to have all this money offshore. This terrible recession, all these austerity measures. But don't worry about it, folks. We've got a nice little piggy bank savings to keep us going. Yeah, don't worry. We're all in it together. And speaking of all in it together, good old camel face, another one of those ASS's. I'll copy and paste this one, multitask for you. It's from the Daily Mail. Interesting little article. Has David Cameron's family got money tied up in offshore tax haven? Father revealed to have built up fortune using network of investment funds. Curiouser and curiouser, said Alice. Now, I didn't chase this particular rabbit any further to suit my ends, to suit my confirmation requirements. I didn't need to. Whoever wrote this article has already looked at that information. But isn't this so curious? His family comes from landed aristocracy, got all this money in offshore accounts, but Mr. Camelface says it's morally wrong, it's morally repugnant for people to evade tax offshore. How do you manage that cognitive dissonance then, Mr. Camelface? How's that treating you at night when you look at yourself in the mirror? I wonder. You probably don't really care, do you? You'll be off out with your Bullingdon boy mates with Boris down for a bit of a jar, smash up a few restaurants. You'll be quite happy, yes. So we, in a matter of in my opinion, in a matter of 4 mainstream media articles, I find it pretty undeniable that these people in power are deliberately manipulating the economic situations and profiting in what they tell us is illegal manners, doing things illegally, but we're not supposed to do it, but it's okay if they do it. You don't mention it if they do it. You're not supposed to talk about it if they do, but you shouldn't do it. Oh, no. When are these bankers going to start being arrested? That was an interesting side note there, story coming out of Ireland last week. They have arrested a few. I don't think they've really sort of dug into the situation to any great degree yet. I think they were all primarily from the one bank, but we shall see. Progress may begin slowly, as it does with these legislative processes. The law moves slowly most of the time, and that does sort of connect me further into the main thread that I wanted to point at in these situations. As I say, it does link back into the other things I've mentioned, the Colorado shooting, as well as lots of other similar mass shooting tragedy events that have occurred over the last however many years. And this is putting to one side all the possible conspiratorial potentialities of these situations. As I said, there's plenty of people investigating that one particular shooting at the moment, but I'm looking back at others such as Columbine, etc. They have, I feel certainly, quite a lot of conspiratorial potentialities about them, which could be further investigated and pursued, etc. But my point is, and the reason I was particularly pointing at the economic situation and using those particular articles, as I say, all from mainstream media. There's nothing alternative, there's nothing woo-woo science about this, there's no conspiratorial tinfoil hat wearing about this stuff. Your empiricist sheeple friends cannot tell you this is all crazy weird hippie shit to do with the Occupy movement, and you're just a dissident weirdo talking. No, it's in mainstream media news, mate. Go and argue with their facts. Yeah, possibly it could be propaganda because it's in the mainstream media, but let's deal with what they're actually putting in front of us, see what it says to us. And at the moment, like I say, those 4 articles from mainstream media all point fairly obviously to the fact that these super rich power brokers, politicians, are all stuffing their pockets left, right and centre as much as they can, and they couldn't give a crap about how many people get consumed, ground up in the machine, as long as they can keep stuff in their pockets. You really think that it's impossible that a state might perpetrate such an atrocity as the mass shooting in Colorado recently to further their own ends? I find that to be quite a naive outlook on life. That doesn't mean I'm condoning what they're doing, I certainly do not, but that also means that I'm trying to be pragmatic and realistic about where does the evidence lie, where does it point, cui bono, who benefits. Follow the money trail. Where does the money trail? It goes off into a nice big offshore piggy bank. This is a big giant piggy bank floating offshore that all these super rich people stuff their money into. But anyway, now the main thread I was looking at, the thing that could join all these together, I'll use a quote to sort of put this point across. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. That's from Martin Luther King. Justice. As I say, the propaganda machine has whipped into full gear as fast as possible over the events in Colorado recently. And the majority of the talk, almost immediately from the get-go of when the story first broke, was gun control, gun control, gun control, gun control. What should we do about guns? Guns. We've had various talking heads all over the different media. Of course, this isn't so much relevant to the UK. We have not got a Second Amendment or anything like that, really, so it's not exactly that relevant to us. But yes, my point being, there has been a very convenient, coincidental opportunity for them to bring up the subject of gun control. What a surprise. But what about the justice for the people involved in this situation? Whoever truly perpetrated this crime, whether it was just a lone psycho nut or whether it was a set up conspiracy of some kind as a false flag to further whoever's agenda. People died. Where is the justice or the concern for justice? All these stories recently, to me, have led me to that fundamental question: have people considered? Have you considered what is justice? What does justice mean to you? What method, supposedly, of justice are these institutions, these bodies that are intrinsic to our state systems? What are they basing their justice on? How are they applying it? Like I said towards the beginning of the show, I wanted to mention the Ian Tomlinson case again, because, as I say, it was somewhat of a tragedy as far as I'm concerned, with the result that was put out from that. I'll link you another article which is a little bit old, but is very relevant. I've kept it bookmarked. I'm glad to say that they haven't actually, the Guardian haven't actually taken that article down, which I'm surprised at, considering the progress of the Big Brother state here in the UK. I'd expected such articles to start being eradicated from mainstream sources. But it's still there. You can still look at it, read it if you want to. As I say, it is a little bit out of date, a couple of years out of date. If it was updated, yeah, the numbers would go up quite a bit. So, where is the justice for Ian Tomlinson? Where is the justice for all the people that have died in the Colorado tragedy? Justice for the people in Anaheim? Not only the victims that died, but also those people that were just protesting the craziness of it and then get blasted with pepper pellets and beanbag rounds and plastic bullets and whatever else they threw at them, as well as a police canine. Now of course they're claiming that the dog escaped its handler. Yes, maybe. I think that handler needs a bit more training, if that's the case. But I wanted to prod people in this direction to, with all the stuff that's going on at the moment, all the crazy news we're having, the constant overflowing of information, of the sheer psychotic nature of what is occurring globally at the moment. Because, I've said it before, lots of other people have talked about it, we do seem to be living in a psychotic society. Our society seems quite happy to sit back and let those in power devastate another country simply because they don't like the guy who's in charge of that country. Which, yeah, we could go off in another totally separate tangent debate about sovereignty, etc., and ruling powers. But when it comes down to it, is it undeniable that our Western nations are enacting an imperialist acquisition of certain countries in the Middle East? Is it? Could you deny that? Do you really still follow along with the, it's just been, a coincidental domino effect of these countries calling for independence? Yeah. How many reports, even in mainstream media reports, are we getting now that our nations, the UK, the USA, most of the big European nations, are involved on the ground with troops, usually special op troops, or somehow troops that allow them a deniability factor, so mercenary units, people like Blackwater, etc. No, they're not Blackwater anymore, are they? They're academia, I think. But the point being, our nation states are there on the ground getting involved, as well as, of course, being involved in a proxy war sense by pushing supplies in for the rebels, even shipping rebels in. Our mainstream media here in the UK quite niftily sidesteps mentioning the fact that Al-Qaeda, or Al-Qaeda should I say, are quite intrinsically involved in the situation at the moment in Syria. Yet not that long ago, less than even a year ago, supposedly we were told that they were the bad guys. They were the horrible, nasty bad guys that are blowing up our troops, folks. They're the ones that are sending our soldiers home with limbs missing. But now they're the good guys and we've got to give them money and weapons. What? Excuse me? I think I might have stepped into the wrong world here. I think I need to go back to the lobby and check the sign on the door. This does not seem right. But yes, I will come back to this subject. But first I'm going to play you another 3 songs. Yes, I might end up, like I said, I had quite a few songs lined up which I thought was appropriate. And excuse me, sorry, coughing at you, and I thought I'd keep hold of them for this week because it still seemed appropriate. This is sort of jumping back a little bit in the topics I've been talking about, back to sort of the economic situation. Somewhat appropriate, I feel, anyway. Yeah, I'll shut up and I will be back in about, if I play all 3, that's going to be about 15 minutes. Oh, it's a long one. Well, hopefully you enjoy them. Yes, good tracks there. First one was the Specials, Ghost Town. Yes, the second Specials track I picked, but again seemed highly appropriate. Crass, Big A, Little A, some brilliant lyrics in that. And Rage Against the Machine, Township Rebellion, again some fantastic lyrics in that as well. When ignorance reigns, life is lost. You are the only you. Yeah, I haven't actually said it yet, have I? My usual disclaimer. Yeah, I am not a shaman. I'm not a journalist, investigative journalist or anything like that. I'm not an expert in anything. I ain't trying to sell you anything. That's why this is virtual shamanizing. I am culturally appropriating certain aspects which I think, in my opinion, work well. Music, the use of sound is a big part of that. So I'm playing these tracks at you quite deliberately. But yes, some really good lyrics in there if you bother to take notice. Don't necessarily be put off by what particular style of music it is, what genre it is, and if it connects with you, if it moves something within you, then that's what matters, even as all art should. Even if it makes you dislike it, it's still got a reaction out of you. So anyway, yes, I've still got loads more tracks, but I'll come back to that in a second. But it does, those, especially the last couple, You Are the Only You, don't stand silent, stand up and join in the chorus of people questioning, of asking, why is our government doing this? Why are our states doing this? Why are these institutions here? Why are they doing these terrible, horrible things across the planet? When ignorance reigns, life is lost. That's why I felt, with all these stories recently, it's somewhat appropriate to point at that common theme, that question. Again, using that Martin Luther King quote, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. Are you questioning what is justice? Are you considering what is justice? What does justice mean to you? Are you asking those questions, and are you turning to your rulers, whatever particular government, states, dressing they happen to cloak themselves in, and asking, why are you doing this, and holding them accountable? Is that the question? Accountability, responsibility, asking them to be as responsible for their actions as they demand that you are. As I was saying earlier, these big institutions and corporations get away with things that if we lowly peasants, plebes and peons, whatever you want to define yourself as, attempted, you would be rapidly locked up behind bars. In that questioning, this is something else I wanted to note, particularly this week, with, again, referring back to the current event in Colorado and the ensuing media frenzy, and a lot of the big name alternative sources out there are stomping all over it, saying it's a false flag and it's this and that and the other. And of course we've got the whole the great event, the Olympics, starting in a few short hours, and all the various conspiracy theories that abound around the Olympics and the symbolism and whatever else. There's so much of that you can look at if you're interested. But it just seemed that the next, well, not so much the next thing, but certainly something I'm waiting to see to start popping out in the news, most likely in the mainstream media, is the usual sort of counter propaganda, where they'll start throwing labels around about conspiracy theorists and tinfoil hat wearing crazy people, and it's lizards, it's the Jews, or all this kind of usual stuff. The usual straw man and ad hominem crap that gets thrown at you just because you question something. And that was the main thing I was just trying to point out here, to take note of, is that's a kickback effect I'm waiting to yet see start over these recent events. We had a bit of a wave of it towards the end of last year, with a lot of mainstream media propaganda type stories and books being published about, supposedly explaining the conspiracy theorists and why are they obsessed with these crazy theories, all this kind of pseudo scientific babble. And I just wanted to refer to the lyrics in those last two songs, particularly you are the only you, and ignorance is, life is lost if you live in ignorance. So there is nothing wrong with asking questions. Just try to keep that critical frame of mind with you when you ask those questions. Then, as far as I'm concerned, this is my perspective, my opinion. I don't care what labels they call me or throw at me. They will, no matter what I say to them. If it's something they feel they disagree with, even if it's for a reason they can't properly explain, the usual poo-flinging will begin, and I'll be labelled the crazy tinfoil hatter and stuff like that. It just seemed appropriate for me. I picked out 3 tracks which I thought were quite appropriate in that respect. Before I play into them, I will give you one last link. This is just a general link from the Wikipedia. Yes, I know the Wikipedia, people bitch and complain so much about it, but it's similar to what I've just said. Look at as many sources of information as you can. You can quite easily cross-reference and check out the sources and information that is included in a wiki page. Therefore, it's up to you. Stay sovereign to your own knowledge and investigations. Don't just take somebody else's word on it. Just because the common rumour mill says Wikipedia is shit, don't necessarily mean it is. And I'm not saying it is, it's just another source of information to me. It's another place to access information anyway. That's just the general page, their general page on the aspect of justice from a philosophical point of view. Yes, there is quite a lot of info on there. There are lots and lots of links in amongst that lot which you might find interesting. Jump off into other areas to read about, investigate, whatever. That's up to you, fill your boots, go for it. Yeah. And yes, there is quite a lot on there to read through and take in if you are bothered, if you are interested. But I felt, as I said, with all this stuff that's going on at the moment, and so many people speaking out against it, protesting against it, etc., it's one thing to shout stop, but you need to be considering what you do once everything does stop. And if you fundamentally disagree with what could be loosely termed as ethics in relation to what these rulers, these people, these states, these corporations are doing, if you find them to be unethical in your opinion, etc., etc., then you yourself need to spend some time contemplating and considering what you think is ethical. What is justice to you? What does justice mean to you? What do you expect if you demand justice? Because if you don't know, how can you demand it from somebody else? It's not so much what I'd call homework. Like I say, it's there for you to look at if you want to. As per usual, I don't try to force anybody into any one particular opinion or viewpoint or whatever. It's up to you. It's your journey. I'm just sharing my journey with you. I feel it's valuable to consider those kind of fundamental topics. And that requires a little bit of homework in the sense of, yes, learning some academically accepted definitions and such like, but that whole process just makes it easier for you to think about these concepts. It does not restrict or confine you unless you let it. Again, stay sovereign to your own knowledge, that's up to you. So anyway, yes, I'm going to play another 3 tracks. These ones I feel appropriate for, as I say, I'm waiting for that oncoming "they're all nutters" tirade from the mainstream media. Probably might start once the Olympic opening ceremony is over. Yeah, maybe they'll start throwing around the usual straw man of like, look, nothing happened, we told you you're all crazy. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, here's another 10 minutes approximately of music. Enjoy it, hopefully.
We are rapidly approaching a moment of truth, both for ourselves as human beings and for the life of our nation. Now, truth is not always a pleasant thing, but it is necessary now to make a choice, to choose between 2 admittedly regrettable, but nevertheless distinguishable post-war environments. One where you got 20 million people killed, and the other where you got 150 million people killed. Mr. President, I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed, but I do say no more than 10 to 20 million killed, tops.
We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Oh, yeah, click the button. Yes, I did. Right. Sorry, I thought I'd click the wrong button then, but it seems to be working. Yes, okay, thank you. Alright, yeah, it's 3 tracks there, folks. That was Payday Monsanto with Mass Hypnosis. The Anti-Terrorist featuring MIDI intellects, conspiracists, and Ill Bill. Society's Brainwashed. Yeah, again, some interesting lyrics in all them songs. And as I said, yeah, people will throw labels around quite happily. The herd doesn't like it when you make them think about things too much. Yes, big up the MIDI intellect. Cool song, another one of his. Check him out online, folks. Yeah, please check out as well the website at flippingthepyramid.co.uk and our friends at Freedom Informant Network at freedominfonetwork.org. Go and say hello to Adonis, doing a great job there, doing their daily radio shows with Wake the F Up. And as well, please don't forget Keelan's website at wideshut.co.uk. Some good journalism and reporting and points of view and opinion as well, yes, but some good articles there for you to get your teeth into and videos to peruse as well. Yes, so I'm going to slightly change up what I normally do. Normally I'd sort of waffle until the end and then play Bob Marley's Redemption song, which sort of becomes somewhat of a epilogue anthem, as it were, but considering I had all these tracks lined up, one in particular was a request, which I want to play anyway. It just seemed more appropriate to me to finish up by playing out with these songs and let them play out to the end. It plays along with my shamanistic intent, which will probably make sense when you're listening to them. This leads into a bit more of something that hopefully is uplifting, maybe make you feel a bit more optimistic and positive in actually, keeping on. That seems to become a common phrase recently. So yes, folks, lots of crazy stuff happening over the last week, lots of stories going on, and the big event beginning in a few short hours on the 27th. Yeah, the 27th of the 7th, 2012. It's just not start running down that Olympic rabbit hole. Yes, anyway, I got 3 great tracks for you. Should I tell you what they are before I play them, if I'm planning to play out till the end? No, I'm just going to let them play, because otherwise it'll spoil whatever surprise there may be involved. Thanks for listening, folks. Take care, and I hope the coming week will be better than the tragic events we've had this week. We shall keep watching, keep questioning, keep thinking, keep debating, keep evolving.
Flipping the Pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk. We aim to discover the truth about our world and the issues it faces.